For almost a decade on my TV show Interview with Ed, I've been interviewing extra-dimensional beings and consciousnesses from a number of different realms. Many of my questions have been answered, but with every answer comes more questions. Join me on my ongoing quest to find out, who are we? Why are we here? And where are we going? Hello, everybody. Welcome. So today we have a super awesome guest, Phoenix Rising. Phoenix has been helping with this new episode that I'm working with Lyrica and Gail. And we're telling the story of, Lyrica's story of her journey with working with the Nonverbal Autistic Collective and her work that she's doing to help grid the planet and welcome this ascension period. So, hi, Phoenix.
Hi. Anything for you. You are awesome and incredible. I'm always honored to be working with anything that you are involved in. And so I'm here. I am here, present.
Thank you for being here. And thank you, Lyrica, for being here. Gail, Roxanne, everybody else who is on the call. And first, I guess we can get into just how do I know you and how we met. I think we can sort of go into our origin story here before we go into deeper things, just to share with the audience who has maybe seen the episode, but we didn't really talk about it in the episode. I don't think we did. I don't know if we did or not, but we know each other through Bill and the Skull.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Through Bill and the Skull.
What's your relationship with that, and how do you know Bill?
Yeah, it was so great how you and I finally met and connected all of these dots. But I had an incredible, pretty big journey with the skull in this lifetime. There are alone, which got me to Bill. I had a brain hemorrhage in 2004. And a friend of mine, while I was recovering, got a book for me. Was always fascinated with the crystal skulls, the whole Indiana Jones, Tomb Raiders of the Lost Ark, all of that. But that movie was actually based on the Mitchell-Hedges skull. When Steven Spielberg found out about the Mitchell-Hedges skull, it inspired him to do the Indiana Jones series. Mm-hmm. And so I was recovering and I did not want to get surgery with the brain hemorrhage. I chose not to have the doctors go into the brain, for all the various reasons that I'm sure most of the audience understands, that we really love to have autonomy over our health if we can. So I had this bleed in the brain, but I chose to go home. So I sent my friend to get these books, and I said, please come back with the book about the crystal skulls. And so he went off. He brought this book too. He told a friend of his that, he was worried about me. I had brain hemorrhage, but he got me some books, something about a crystal skull. And his friend said, what do you mean about a crystal skull? He said, some Mitchell something skull. And so he said, wait, the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull? And they have to know that my friend thought I was a little bit crazy, crystal skulls, all this stuff, alien, all that stuff.
Right.
So he had no idea when he told his friend, who was a very educated man, a PhD architect, they're working on a big project together, that he would have any inkling about some Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull. So his friend said, please get Phoenix on the phone because I am also a native elder. His name is John Francis. And he said, I actually was one of the carriers of that crystal skull. When Anna Hedges was sick and she was getting into her advanced years, sometimes she was tired, she had befriended John Francis, who was also an explorer, who also knew Bill at that time, because Bill also traveled with Anna, and he wrote a big book, actually looking at it, it's in my bookcase, called Akalan. And on the back of it is a beautiful picture of the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull. So his experience with the skulls and the story of the 13 skulls, the prophecy of when they would all get together and have that resonant tone and then bring this whole time that we're in right now into its full awakening. So he knew greatly about been writing about it. So he gets me on the phone and says, I have a crystal that's been charged with the Mitchell-Hedges skull. And I would like you to put that crystal, when you get it in the mail, put it in water, and in the morning, drink the water and just watch what happens. He said, so I did. And in about a month, I went back to the doctors. They were very surprised that the blood had actually drained out of my brain, and that there was hardly even a scar or anything left where the injury was. And it was about the size of a quarter. It was very large. I mean, I was kind of the study for about 2 weeks in ICU as to why I hadn't died, because it was so
Wow.
big. So the difference when they had seen me after a month was profound. So I go on, of course, and when you get healed, you're just happy that you're healed. And I really didn't think much about what had happened. I just was really happy that I was alive,
Yeah,
continuing my life.
for sure.
But you know how that is when you start to feel better and but then something started happening a couple years later. I started having these memories, or I didn't know that they were memories at first, but they were visions. And they were visions of councils, the skulls, galactic beings, and those who were in charge of encoding and actually forming these skulls for humanity. And I started to then go, wait a minute,
That's
there's
right.
something with this. There's something. There's memories. And then again, it wasn't until I start meeting people, because you go on with your life, you're doing
Sure.
stuff, and I started meeting these people who said, "Hey, do you know what you did with the crystal skulls? Do you understand what has been happening in your history, your past lifetimes, that you actually sat in a council to help to
Right.
form these skulls, not just this skull, but others?" And I kept hearing this, like, very definitely from people who I hadn't elicited these
Mhm.
conversations. So I had to really pay attention. And it was the last person, it was in Austin, Texas, in Texas on the
Oh,
line.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was about about 4.5 years ago. Adrienne Goff, she's an incredible crystal reader, healer, channel, and collector. She, as a little girl, used to travel the planet with her parents, who were gemologists. They were into the crystals, and they channeled. So her whole lifetime was about being with crystals. And so she's really profound. My friend in Austin, who also had a similar memory about sitting in a council with a skull, and she had no connection to any of this world, that we're in. She was kind of thinking it's kind of hocus pocus.
Hmm.
And she did not know that I had had a brain hemorrhage, or my connection with the skull, or the shaman sending me, the elder sending me the crystal. She didn't know about any of it. And she said, I had a dream that you and I were in a council. We were in a cave somewhere, and there were all these women, and there was a skull, and we were speaking to the skull. We were doing something. She said, I don't remember the whole thing. And I said, what? And then I told her the story, and she was, dumbfounded, because she's really thinking this is hocus pocus. And then she starts having memories. And then she says, listen, you got to go see Adrienne Golf. She's in Texas, where I live. And when I had that session, she just channeled in the whole thing. And she told me about things that I had visions about. She had the Lyrans come in, the Palladians. There was light language. It was like all of this stuff. She had built this grid. I recorded, and it was absolutely amazing. And at the end of the session, she said, you know what? She said, you need to actually step into this and go find one of those skulls. And
Mm.
then again, it wasn't until about 6 months later that I found Bill. I
Mm.
actually called. I knew that the skull had been in Sedona, so I had called a shop in Sedona just by chance. It had the name Phoenix something on it,
Mm.
my name. So I said, you know what? Let me just call up. So
Right,
I
right.
did. She said, wow. She said, you know what? Bill Holman is the keeper of the skull now. She said, he's been a little bit quiet for the past few years, but he has been here. Let me give you his email. I emailed him. And then that was really the beginning of my journey. And he hit me back. He said, I'm coming to LA. I'm going to be on the History Channel. He said, let's meet. And my first time meeting the skull in downtown LA in a very old historic hotel, which I never imagined that I would meet the skull in that way. Somewhere out in the, I'm going to meet the skull. Here I'm in Los Angeles in a historic hotel, but it was just profound. And the minute I met the skull, it was, I knew, because I had been with her many, many, many times in many lifetimes. And it seems as if I incarnate around the skull wherever I am. I'm always near the skulls. So Bill said to me, he said, let's, do you want to work with me, the skull?
Mm-hmm.
You guys seem really bonded.
Right.
Bonded. The skull is so magical. Anybody who's seen the skull, it's incredible, because when you look into this, you see the skull, it's just this clear, gorgeous quartz crystal. It's just, it's magnificent, just magnificent. When you look into the skull, especially into the back, the back part of the head, you can actually see the brain. You can see two hemispheres of the brain. It's you're trying to figure out, how could you see that? And yet there is a brain, literally, and it has movement inside. And I'm just captivated. And more memories start to come up. And Bill said, okay, what do you want to do? Let's work. So I invited Bill back, and we did a whole week tour in Los Angeles to different crystal places, shops, different people who knew about the skull. There's a woman who actually flew in all the way from England because she had a healing with the skull maybe 30 years prior, cancer. It was profound. And she heard the skull was in LA, and she flew all the way in to Los Angeles to see us that week. So it was just magical. And I hated the week being over. And when the week was over, I dropped Bill off downtown, back to downtown at, forget what it was. It was a great
the train station, or
not at the train station, at that restaurant.
Oh, Cafe Gratitude.
At Cafe Gratitude downtown. And Bill said, I'm good. And he was ready. He was getting on to do Zoom and meetings. He said, I'm meeting these guys. They're coming in from, I think from Gaia, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, cool. And I left Bill. And then it was you guys. It was you and Steven.
Steve. Yeah.
And Steve.
Yeah.
And that's when we met you, because you then contacted me because Bill had told you about me.
Yeah. I think we also, our mutual friend Maya had talked about you.
That's right.
And then she introduced us. But yeah, so so we got connected in that way, and then we got to know you, and we're like having these amazing conversations. And your obviously your experiences with the skull, but much more than that, you're shaman.
Yes, I'm going to say I'm a shamanic practitioner.
Shamanic practitioner.
Yeah, shamanic practitioner, because I practice in all of the remembrance of the earth. And what I do is I help people to remember who they are, why they came to earth this time, what their purpose is. And the biggest, I think one of the biggest things is so many of us have forgotten, why we're here. Of course, we come in with that because we're supposed to forget. So we go through all of the lessons to remember. I mean, this is the biggest part, is our contract, is we come in with that veil over, that agreement. We make our soul agreements out there. We come into the body. We're supposed to forget it so that we can then remember. This time, even though my work is to help people with the remembrance, I find it's very rapid this time because of where we are, this new resonance that's on planet like never before. All the galactics that are finally, literally lined up to help us, who are here and who are in their realms as well. But all of this at this same time is speeding up the remembrance process, which is exactly what we need right now. So in my work as a hypnotherapist and doing past life regression, life in between life and future life, what I find right now is so amazing is that the remembrance that we are multidimensional beings. So we are living out lives in many different dimensions, and it all coming into one remembrance right now. And so the shamanic work in the remembrance of who we are, bringing in the earth pieces, because we've been so separated. We've been led to believe that we don't know, we don't have all of the information in us.
Sure. Right.
And that the
That-
pharmaceuticals and everybody else says, hey, don't do that.
Right.
We have the solution for you. And when we go, okay, what's that solution? Oh, I'll just take that. I'll do what you say. It separates us from our ability to be our own, what I call our own shaman, our own guru, our own doctors, our own sovereign beings. So my job is to help people remember their sovereignty so that we pass by quickly and we can get on with our work, which is, what we're doing for the ascension work and all of this voodoo stuff. People think
Voodoo.
what we're doing is not so voodoo anymore. It's just not.
I mean, just in the past 2 years, that's this acceleration from, when COVID hit and we're all like, oh, what's happening here? But to really see the awareness around, the woo, right? And the acceptance and the welcoming of different shamanic practices and alternative, which are not really alternative, but older ways of healing through more holistic ways of healing are now being more accepted as the extremes. The extremes through the pharmaceutical industry are pushing their agendas and different things and into one direction, and which is allowing people to sort of disconnect and find and open their eyes to alternatives. And you're in that space.
What you just said is so important that I know those of you who are here. And by the way, I just want to say, so beautiful to feel everybody's energy, because I can feel that. So thank you for that, and Reuben, to bringing everybody to your platform and having me here. That what you said is so key in the distortion and the inverted reality. The idea that they call it alternative, right? Or that it's or traditional medicine. Right. They really call pharmaceuticals. Oh, well, this is the traditional medicine. It's like, wait a minute. No, this is the distortion medicine. The traditional is the earth medicine. This is how we heal ourselves. We have every single thing. We came with all the information, and that flip around has us boxed. They have been moving us around little pieces in these little boxes very adeptly, where now I see you're saying it's beginning to change. If people go to traditional medicine, is the Mother Earth medicine. It's everything we have. It's everything we know. It's all plants. It's the information from the plants, the information from the trees. And if we can finally unplug, which we really are beginning to do, it's very exciting. We can actually hear the messages. And that's when that shamanic of yourself turns on. Get those messages and you can hear them coming in. You can bring them up from the earth. What we're experiencing right now is so profound, because as we are elevating, as these new lights are coming into planet, this whole plasmic situation that is enlightening us and that is coming into our physical bodies. If we can stay in line with nature and get those messages, that are coming in from above, that are moving up from the earth, we become more of a match for the light that's coming in. So it's very, very important, that we stay away from the inversions and the pharmaceutical stuff, and stay as closely aligned with nature as we can, because that nature, it knows our frequency. It's going to, and then when that light comes in, we are going to elevate, as we're seeing. This is what's happening. There's something, so every month there's something that happens. Every year something is happening, right? But every month right now, last month, the month before, I have literally felt it like elevate, elevate, elevate each
Mhm.
time. I mean, the ascension symptoms are real. They're
Mm.
uncomfortable many
Mhm.
times, but the access to higher information has been just profound.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know if you're feeling that, but
Maybe
I
that's what I was under the weather sort of for, a month or so. Still a little bit of congestion going, but yeah, I was thinking, I was like, maybe this is just ascension stimulus. Yeah, that's what it is. My body's recalibrating here. Yeah, I mean, there's different angles you can look at it, but
right.
it definitely sucks for, a month.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I just dragging. And, but when you're through it, I'm like, whoa, I feel like way better now.
Well,
Still a little, some visual. Yeah, the tiredness is
the
just when
tiredness is real for everyone, even
mm,
without like just absolutely people are like, I'm just so tired. Well, yeah,
mhm,
it's your body is upgrading. DNA is upgrading. This is actually happening. So
mhm,
the times are so exciting. The
exciting.
world is just splitting so much because there are those of us who are really grabbing that light, like just going into it. And there are others who are really having a lot of trouble getting it.
Mhm,
And I see it just, it's literally splitting off. So families, relationships, you know, projects that you're working on that you thought, this is it, this is the one, suddenly
right.
in an instant goes away and it no longer is resonating with you because everything in you has now gone to a different level. And
Shifted
that's,
really quickly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and just as quickly, new projects come in and are built, and and we're doing this now. Okay, and it's super fast. Um,
exactly.
it's all of the ideas of synchronicity and time speeding up and just thing manifestation. So we just did our monthly CE5 a couple of days ago out here at Giant Rock, or not Giant Rock, Eye of God, which is a giant crystal mound. Have you been out there, Phoenix? Did you ever go to
No,
Eye of God in Big Bear?
I didn't go there when I was there. No.
Oh, okay. Well, next time you come up to Big Bear, we'll give you a tour. Um, Super powerful uh, crystal that the Serrano Indians named it Eye of God. It's a sacred crystal that overlooks the valley, and it's super powerful in manifestation. People, this is for years. People have been going there and setting intentions to manifest things, and we had some people that were there sharing with the group as we were getting ready to do the CE5, how just a month ago they were there putting in some intentions and manifestations happened within days.
Yeah.
People were, so I know that's already happening around the earth. You don't need a giant crystal to do that, but if you have a giant crystal on top of the energy that's already there. So our intention was open contact, disclosure, all of the things that come with the CE5 experience. So hopefully we'll, on a global level, I know individually a lot of people were activated. So, and are being activated just, in the energy. Everybody seems to have that same testimonial of things are speeding up. Wow, I just had this thought, and then all of a sudden I'm doing this, and then that changed, and it's definitely uh, uh, not just localized to
Right.
our crystal over
No,
here.
it is not localized. And, t- uh, the attest to that is we have to stay so, again, grounded and really focused on what it is we really want. And we need to make sure that those other lower frequency things, we hear this all the time, sounds a little bit almost like rhetoric, but we really do have to keep the lowers because exactly what you're saying, things manifest so quickly. It's
Hmm.
not just the good things,
Right, right,
the
right.
other things too.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons meditation,
Hmm.
being really mindful about what you're doing, really thinking, is this really what I want to bring in?
Right, right,
Is this who I really want to be working with? You know,
right.
because I've seen it go in the other way where people go, oh my God, it happens so quickly. And of course, what is this also? This is the Schumann resonance.
Hmm.
Everything is moving so quickly. And we used to have like, what's like you felt like it was a 7-day week.
Hmm.
It feels like 3.5 now.
Exactly. Even less sometimes. I'm like, what the week? We're doing the call again. Here we are.
Right. Or we're doing, to me, I was like packing it by the garbage can. Like you're putting the garbage can that it's like it's like always garbage day. It's like always ground day. Like I was like, oh, it's always garbage day. I'm like, what is happening? But that's how fast those manifestations are happening. That's why they're happening fast, is because it's all together. So it's all like a boom. So, what garbage are you going to put out? It's like, we have to be really careful what that is.
Well,
And I know
the saying, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it, right? So
and you are getting
you are getting it on all levels.
uh-huh.
For
So
sure.
yeah, and so it's really, I'm actually, doing again, do I have my juice with me? Yeah, my juice fast. I'm on a 10-day master cleanse.
Oh, great.
Simply for that reason, because meditation, diet, what you put in the body, fasting is so important right now, because cleaning the cells. Because what do we do, right? The body keeps score. We know that amazing book. I'm trying to think of the man who wrote it. The body keeps score. Everything is stored in the body. The cells are all the emotions, the traumas, all of that.
Sure.
Well, if you're not feeling well or you're feeling tired, yes, it's the ascension symptoms.
Right.
Also, those symptoms are fighting against stuff that are stored traumas that are in your body, that are in your cell. So it's like, oh, we're going to bring this thing in, but oh, hey, he's still got this he's working on. She's still got that, which we all do. It's a lifelong, work of working on stuff. However, if we can keep peeling back the layers by doing those fasts, sweating, saunas, working out, hiking, which is all grounding, getting into the earth, but in a clean way, sweating, big deal. Everything you're putting, and then intentionally how you're eating. Are you eating too quickly? Are you not sitting down? Are you not praying over your food? Are you not blessing it? The intention, going back, how did that food get to our table? What was the intention? Can we heal some of that? Okay, we don't know what maybe hopefully happened here. We do know, but sometimes we don't. So when it gets to here, before it gets to here and then it goes into your body and gets into the cellular makeup, that kind of mindfulness alone is so important, because that is what's going to be the interface. The cells are the interface,
right?
The ascension. So I'm safeguarding my ascension process on another 10 days. It's day 2. So you luck out there.
So the master cleanse, I'm sure some people might be familiar with that, but what goes into that? What are the isn't it like lemon and cayenne, or maybe you can describe that?
It's I hadn't done the master cleanse in many years. I've done other fasting, and I'm a big faster and juice cleansing. And there's a woman who I met last year, really awesome. She has something called raw cane juice. And what she does is she cold presses the bamboo of the sugar cane, and it's this delicious juice. She calls it raw cane. Diabetics can drink it because it doesn't have a glycemic level, even though it tastes sweet.
Yeah.
You think raw cane is from the sugar cane, which it is, but it doesn't have anything to do with the actual sugar. So it has a complete profile, amino and enzyme profile. So you're not in a starvation mode when you're doing this diet. So it is just the juice, but you're not starving. Your cells are really fed. But you start the day, the master cleanse. So you start it with that salt. I drink 4 cups of salt water. I do 2 tablespoons and 4 cups of warm salt water. I actually enjoy. People are like, it's terrible, but I'm kind of used to it. You drink it in the morning. You want to be near the bathroom for a good couple of hours. I did that early before we got here, and basically you're flushing out the liver. It's great. The kidneys, gallbladder, liver. You're just flushing it.
Okay.
And her juice already has the cayenne pepper, the lemon, so it has that, and it has that heat, because that heat gets the body moving, the cells moving, to push things out. So it's a wonderful cleanse, and it's the best way I've ever done a master cleanse, because normally I just put water and lemon and cayenne, but the raw cane adds such a dimension. It makes the body feel really good. Yeah,
probably makes it a little bit easier to go those longer longer times, longer distances.
100%.
I'm glad we got you on day 2 here. We got you on day. Sometimes that could be. I've never done a 10-day. I think the most I've done is 5 or 6, maybe. But yeah, that's intense, and what a great reminder too. Yeah, that big fan of fasting. I do a lot of intermediate fasting
Yes,
at
I did
nights.
intermittent. Yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Yes.
So that's a nice little boost for the system, even if people want to start there,
Yeah. But
and then work your way up to a 3-day, a 5-day, a 10-day. I always say start go in increments. You don't want
yes,
to.
you in increments, because a lot of times people go, God, they try to do the whole thing and they feel like they failed, and then you feel bad about it. No, you're right. You want to just build it slowly. I've been doing fasting for years, and intermittent fasting probably like 20 years. I mean, for years. But um, what one of the things in the mindful camp and the ascension realm
Mhm.
that is fascinating which is amazing with fasting, um, it really calls you into your mortality. Because how many times you go, oh my God, I have to eat something. I'm starving to death.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
starving to death. And
Yep.
so again, the mindfulness of our words, starving to death. And so we
Wow.
careful about what we're saying.
Yeah.
And this is a lifetime, by the way, that we are going to transcend the death. That's part of the transmissions. And we actually have those codes within us. That's another topic we can get into. But
Yeah.
every time, as many times as I fasted, I still have that cellular memory that I starved, that I actually did die without food in a number of lifetimes, that this happened to many of us. I still have that because I know I'm fine. I'm not starving to death this lifetime. I'm good. I'm
Right,
not.
right.
However, on that first day where you get to that's like 4 o'clock and you're like, as many times as I've done it,
Yeah.
and I just, okay, you are not. How many times? You are fine. And then when you get over that, you realize that you're basically overriding your fear of death.
Yep.
And fasting, to me, it's so spiritual because yes, it's cleaning the body, very spiritual, but in that physical 3D, here's our body, we're 3D
Right.
here. And then we're making the ascension we're living in these other dimensions. But that 3D body part always is calling to you a lot. You're starving to. And so fasting to me is really a practice of overcoming the fear of death.
Mm.
And day 2 is great. Day 3, you could have me on day 5, 6, because you start after day 3, you start to get your euphoric. Day 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
you could really go with it.
Right.
It's day 1 and 2 that are sometimes the questionable ones because you're
Yeah.
still getting over that collective cellular memory that without food, we're
Right.
starving it. We're somewhere on the plane. We didn't get enough berries or whatever, and we're done.
And then some people take that further. Like there are actual breatharians and sun gazers that just get there's a great movie. It came out like 10 years ago. I think it was called And Then There Was Light, the documentary. Did you ever see that?
I did not see that.
If you can still find it somewhere, I'll look for it. I'll post a link in the
Yeah, maybe we could
community
post that.
chat. But it was really well done. They did traveled the world and found different people who were able to subject themselves to scientific scrutiny, locked them in a room for 10 days, checked their blood and did all this stuff. And they didn't eat or drink, they didn't even need to drink any water, and they were fine. And then there was other testimonials of people who said they've been breatharians for decades, and sometimes have a casual juice at the dinner table to with friends and family, but otherwise they don't partake in food or water, and they were able to go over that hump, that belief system that we need food. Not recommending anybody jump into that right away, because they also mentioned it in the documentary, there have been deaths of people attempting that, and it's a process. But starting with fasting, starting with being mindful of your food, yeah, I think it's a great start. And then as more and more people develop the ability to not eat, to not drink, then I think it'll help seed the collective belief system that we need these things.
Yeah. Well, food is so much fun, as part of our culture. It's really, I mean, it's a wonderful thing what we've developed too, the different recipes and
Yeah.
ways of presenting the million different ways of putting this on the table and what it does to our families and how we revolve around it is super fun. It's very human and it's very 3D because we're here, we're living a 3D experience. We're
Right.
bringing all of that information in before we bring it back. And all of that is wonderful. But it's also interesting because, like you're saying, we're really walking in the two worlds because as we ascend, you will note, I'm sure you've all noticed for me, it's like, remember there was a time when you had breakfast and you were actually hungry in between breakfast and lunch, you needed a snack.
That's
and then
true.
there was lunch and dinner
Oh, yeah.
and you're actually hungry. Remember that? Remember those days, everybody?
Yeah, I
Like,
remember those days.
I can't wait for dinner. I'm starving to death. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dinner. And then you're like, and you might have even had a snack before you went to bed. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. We're good if we have like a protein shake, right? And
Yeah.
then another meal. We're actually good. Like, notice that whole shift. I mean,
I'm good with my coffee till like 2 p.m.
Exactly. So we get off our coffee. No, right. And mostly, I'm sure all of us, it's like, wait a minute. That's also where, the weeks were, 7 days.
Right.
And so our days were different as well. But you see, it's all a whole consortium where time and everything is, and where there's less time to eat, our light bodies are becoming more light. We're actually on this whole different, and everything's changing. So guess what? Our food has to change. So
Yeah.
we're eating, we're being more mindful. There's more fasting. People are going, oh, what's this intermittent? So everybody is coming into it, whether we're realizing it or not, or trying to fast. You just can't get in the amount of food that we used to do. And we really did. We had snacks in between meals and we needed them. We needed them. So it's fascinating where we're going with this. I think it's just naturally ascending. I spent 6 months sun gazing and that super helped the eating the sun. It was really on it. I actually started something I'm going to be continuing called Helion Life. And
Helion Life. What's that?
Yeah, Helion, the sun, the Helios.
Okay.
Right. It's about about sun gazing and how incredible, because it's true. It reminded me of Helion Life, where you really get your nutrients from the sun. And that's another distortion. And it's also part of our ascension process where we're remembering ourselves. Why were we sun worshipers? Why were we sun gazers? Because we knew we got all of our vitamins, our nutrients, and our information, our channeling, our crowns were lighter, and we could bring in that information. We're also in that information now where the time, we are actual eternal beings, and we do have the choice, again, upcoming as we did a long, long ago, of staying in this same body for hundreds, if not thousands of years, or when we decided we wanted to step out. And that all has to do with what you're physically taking in from the sun, through any nutrients. We knew how to do that, and we're going back to that. So I believe that.
Yeah. One of the great
things.
One of the great things that COVID, I think, taught, I know it taught me, and I was into nutrition and vitamins and everything, but it really taught, I think, the collective is how important vitamin D is, and how vitamin D is not just necessarily a vitamin, but it controls so many different hormones, and having imbalances in that, which many, many people have. Definitely, make sure you're checking your vitamin D, and how COVID affected so many people with low vitamin D levels. And there was this never this talk around vitamin D until COVID hit, and we're really understanding, wow, this vitamin D getting this, nutrients from the sun, how important having high levels of vitamin D is for supporting our immune systems, so supporting just so many things. So
basically their dastardly plan has back.
Yeah, I mean, it's waking people up. People
Brought
are like,
awareness.
wait, no,
Uh-huh.
I need to get
Yeah.
some vitamin D. And
Right.
then,
What you doing? Brought
yeah,
awareness. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it definitely brought an awareness. I remember in the very beginning, they were like, spray everything down and you need to disinfect things and it's all contagious. And then we find out, a few weeks or months later, it's like, no, just go out in the sun for like 30 seconds and it kills everything. Any of those corona particulates are gone out in the sun. So that's another testament of how powerful this light, this sun energy is. It's the life force of our world. Come on. And we're told, the sun is bad, it's evil, don't go out there.
I can hear the thoughts too of your people who are there also who are thinking the same thing, going, yeah, the fear that they put into us, sunscreen, sunglasses,
Right.
Actually doing that, you need to get the sunlight into your eyes. It actually activates your whole cellular makeup. Putting the sunglasses, yes, there are times now when the sun is stronger for sure. You want to be careful. But the fear that we've been put on sunglasses, and people can't actually open their eyes normally into the light. My friend,
she calls sunglasses God blockers. That's it. I like that.
Were you the one who said about eating the sun?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
for me right now. So it's crazy that it's coming up because it's been really like talked about in my circle with my friends. So love.
I heard you. It must have been you that I heard. I was like, I know there's some God blockers. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And when you watch the movies or do any research on sun gazing, the best time is right at sunrise and sunset, because you're not getting the harmful. You can literally look into the sun, like the harmful things that do the damage are not there. Like the last 10 minutes of sunrise and sunset, it's okay to look into the sun. Now, you don't want to look too long and you want to build it up, but one of the practices that I've learned is start your first day with 10 seconds, looking into the sun for 10 seconds. And then the next day, add a second. And the next day, add a second, or a week. You can go a week. Very much like cold exposure, like the Wim Hof method. You start with a small amount of time, and then you build it up every day. You don't want to just go and look into the sun for a minute. Your eyes have to adjust. There has to be an acclimation. But then eventually people get to 5 minutes staring at the sun at sunset at these times.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to go when the sun's overhead beaming, you will go blind. It should never be a forced thing. So even when you're looking at sunset, if your eyes start to water up and hurt a little bit, then shut it down, call it a day, come back the next day, and it's a muscle that needs to be activated.
Yes, thank you for saying that too, because yes, you don't want to go away with a false. Yes, an hour. I would do it when the sun rises. It's safe to do it an hour. So if the sun rises at 7, you could do it till 8.
Yeah.
I do like 7 safely, like half an hour, because then sometimes it really does get a bit much. And then an hour before it sets, then those are the times for sure that you want to do it. And I love that. I'm fascinated. The God blockers is everything. You'll have to make sure you contact me.
It should be a t-shirt.
Yeah, no, it's great. You have to get that, because on my Helion Life, I wanted to what we're doing is developing an app so that there's a community. So when people go, oh wow, I'm sun gazing at this time, so how many people are sun gazing and how long? Cool. Up to 5 seconds, I'm up to 10 seconds, I kind of gamify it, so it's like a fun thing where people are getting the natural benefits of God, right? And you're not blocking it. But I could see on there something really fun. So definitely reach out, because I feel like there's something going on there with your that community and all of this. Helion Life, it's what we should be doing. It's what we did. It's what we used to do. We used to sun worship. That's what we did.
Well, so staying on this sort of health trend, you have also gone into some new technologies, like actual techie stuff that is helping with our health. Can you describe where your investigations have led you? And
my investigations have led me very profound, all the way back to Nikola Tesla again. We always get to Tesla always, and to Rife. It's so beautiful. Yeah, it's really awesome. It was about the past year and a half, I discovered a newer technology. I didn't discover it. I became privy to it. Uh, it's called the AO scanner, and maybe some of you know about it, but it was developed by Russian scientists years ago for their cosmonauts when they were going to, outer space or the space station for long periods of time. Maybe they're away from their families and they were depressed or feeling lonely, or, just imagine yourself out there for that long. You may train for it, and yet when you get there, it's hard to deal with. Or if you're having, say, a heart attack and you're way out there, no one can get to you. So these Russian scientists, using Tesla technology, basically took years to write down and record the actual vibratory frequencies of everything in your body, from your heart to an eyelash, like to your tooth, to a toenail, to your livers, to your, whatever, and developed a device that could scan you from a distance. So it's like Star Trek, literally. And it is like it just scans you, every single thing in your body, and reads where you are, what frequency. So say if your heart was at 528, it's supposed to be there, and say I'm kind of making this up, even though, and it came up as 220. The device, after it scans you, has the ability to then optimize your frequency to bring your heart back up to 528, or whatever is off, your gallbladder, an eye, whatever it is, your ear. I mean, this device is so to the nitty gritty. You can actually see it read a picture of a chromosome, where your DNA will actually come up on this device. Like, the device is like this big, like that big. Or this is my phone, but oh wait, I have it wrapped in a sock, a little band to protect it. But this is the phone size device.
Okay.
And this literally is an iPad. So what happened was the original technology, of course, was very big, very expensive over the years. Certain alternative, like real alternative, traditional medicine doctors, chiropractors, Chinese medicine doctors would get these devices and use them to heal their people on all levels. So there's a really interesting man. I met him just recently, Lyran Swanson, who is a CEO of a company called Energy, who is making big theta chambers, which are very similar to med beds. He's not calling them that, but they're regenerating bone and doing all kinds of amazing things. Like, it's just incredible. I was in one. But he decided that at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, that we should have this device in our hands available so that we have control of our own health. So they downsized this technology and very expensive. Like, you can imagine this, like, astronaut technology, into something this size. And so he put it in the hands of all those people who couldn't, see their patients in person, because everybody's quarantined and doing all this stuff. Being made to look inside and not look at the sun, stay inside, not look at the sun.
Right.
So, it's incredible, because now these people would have access to people, clients, patients, not just one-on-one, but they could do people at a distance. So you're here and you can work with somebody in Australia or in Hawaii or wherever you can be up close and personal. So the ease of it is incredible. You just put in your height, weight, your astrology, date of birth, picture. So it's reading your auric field. You do a voice sample, and you just, boom, you get in. It reads your vitals. It upgrades you. And then these audio files, which are incredible, are healing your emotional body. So it's really speaking to soul traumas and soul pieces and subconscious, all that subconscious stuff that's in your field here, that's healing this here, hopefully before it, drops into your body. So as we know, there's no dis-ease that happens in your physical body before it first happens in the emotional body.
Right. And that connects to, our shamanic teachings and, practitioners, the ayahuascas, and, taking sort of the Chinese medicine to the next level of like, everything comes from emotion. I feel like the shamans and the mascaras and the medicine people had that sort of they were able to like go direct emotion to physical traumas. And then the Chinese methodologies are more, let's look at, the inner organs and the spleen and the blood, and see where things are off, because they could be causing, so if you have heart issues, then maybe, you've got infection in your foot, or, maybe something's up there.
Yes.
So there's a more,
Exactly.
they take a more holistic, let's look at the whole body. And then Western medicine is like, oh, you got heart issues, just take this pill and that'll fix the heart. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a whole like lineage of problems and traumas that we need to look at.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the knee bones connected to the,
Right.
everything. It's all connected. It tells a story. It tells a complete story of where it started way back here in another lifetime. And when I am doing past life, many, many times, the issue that you're having in the physical body right now, you can't breathe, you can't speak properly. How many
Mhm.
times have I had it where you were beheaded, you were cut in the throat, like
Right.
you went out that way, you held that trauma, you
Right.
came into this lifetime, you still have that trauma. And so when you fix it out there, it literally also adjusts itself in the physical body. It's profound each and every time we see it. So this technology, I love it because for me, it's kind of like it's almost like my hack. It's like it fast tracks you. And many
Yeah.
times when I'm doing past life regression, I'll actually put on a whole playlist that helps to make you feel more grounded and more rooted in home, so you don't feel scared when you're out there, or you have increased memory, because there's a whole mental, a whole bunch of mental frequencies. And I put together a playlist that has increased intelligence, impeccable memory,
Mhm.
all of that. So it's amazing.
Just to sort of share my understanding of how these frequencies work is, I'm very familiar with Rife frequencies. I bought one of David Serrato's, one of his early prototypes. This is a modified flashlight machine that I play.
I love how
Ru-
you pulled it out from behind your alien.
well,
It just looked like it got out of this
This came
spaceship.
right out of the spaceship.
Dude.
So he used a flashlight housing, but it's wrapped in coils, and it's got this wire, and I hook it up to it thing. So I started investigating Rife frequencies through knowing David, and he was educating me, years ago on this. And this is my, I sort of am, big into supplements and health and stuff, but this has saved my life so many times where even this time, but I think really Phoenix's machine did the bulk of the heavy lifting instead of this guy this time. But um, anybody on the call who's interested in stuff, definitely recommend looking up, William Rife and the Rife frequencies, and understanding that there is a frequency, and the early work, with Rife, probably before the Russians even, they probably piggybacked on his work.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Yeah,
he did a ton of research to find out the vibratory frequency of different, not just the inner organs, but like even some of these, the actual illnesses themselves, and what those frequencies are, and then what other frequencies counteract those things. So there's, different cancers, different ailments. The problem is there's so many, and it does take a bit of time to research all of this information. When COVID first hit, we did a retreat in Hawaii. Charmaine was there, and I got sick just coming back from the retreat. I thought it was COVID. I don't think it was at the end of the day, but I could not heal it. Could not heal it. And it was a sore throat. I had strep, and nothing seemed to work. And then I finally found the right frequency. I had to go through it, and I played it on this guy, and boom, you play this for 10 seconds, and it was immediately like, it's an instantaneous type of sensation with these frequencies. You don't need them that long, but they really, when you experience it, they really work. And I think
Yeah.
it's just
Showing you some of the cool things on here, that this has also fractal imprinters. You can imprint all kinds of things. And what you said, that Rife, that what you have right there is brilliant. Rife is brilliant. And there is actually in this are all the Rife frequencies actually in this as well.
Right.
Which
Awesome.
is all the, yeah, it's
And so just to sort of let the audience know that when, Phoenix was talking about playing, the playlist, what that is, these are actual frequencies based on, the machine. This is my understanding of the machine. I'm just still learning about this, but sort of, putting it in my language is, the machine finds the imbalances, works with it's already has the library of right frequencies in it and other, frequencies that I'm sure have been programmed in it. So it cuts out a lot of the work that here I am with my machine and I'm like looking online with the right
figuring out
frequencies. And then I'm like, and then I have to ask my mom, can you muscle test? She's knows kinesiology and muscle testing. So I'm like, I throw at her, 20 frequencies. I'm like, muscle test these for me, see which ones are the right ones. And then she'll narrow it down to like 3. And then I have to go through my playlist to play the 3 and, 10 seconds. Anyways, your machine cuts all that work down, plus gives you a nice, playlist, like you said, a mixed bag of frequencies that are going to, it seems to know what you need.
There's 2 parts of it, which are really nice. It absolutely. So when it gives you your readout, and it's fascinating, you can like everything from parasites to like the whole thing. Now, this is aside from the audio files, the what is called the inner voice. So just shredding the vitals, it gives you a readout. It then upgrades you. Actually see everything to upgrade it. And many times you've got like all these reds here and they upgrade to the
Show me that.
The colors.
Yeah.
But there are places where things haven't upgraded, and where the places aren't upgraded, you then go back in and they give you a complete list of, we're talking thousands of frequencies to pick from. And you can still, if you want to, muscle test, which is great because you can get the confirmation before you create a playlist, to then send yourself other frequencies or family or friend, whomever. Also animals, cats, dogs, horses. It's huge with veterinarians and in the equestrian community because it's so accurate. And it's a great diagnostic. And then it's also a, healing tool. We're going to just use that word in our private, because you know how it is. This could never heal you. You know how that goes.
Right.
It's so incredible and it's so accurate because on you, can we speak about
absolutely.
I did the whole read on Reuben, and we're looking, and he was very good. Your chart looked actually excellent. You had not much that was going on in red, but the thing that showed up, and he said to me before, he's like, I have this bacterial infection in my lungs. And don't you know, under bacteria, there's a section under bacterias, words that you don't even know, but in it's amazing because you can actually press on something in a whole definition. So you don't have to go outside this and look. And we're reading on what this bacteria is. I said, what is this, Reuben? Go on. And then right at the end of the paragraph, it says respiratory bacteria. I was like, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
And
also it picked out, some of the other, my liver stuff, which, every time I go to a Chinese doctor, they're always like, you need some liver, they're like, do you drink? And I'm like, oh, and they're like, good, because you probably wouldn't be on the earth much longer if you did, because some hereditary stuff through the liver, and all the Chinese doctors, stick out your tongue, take your pulse, and they always diagnose me with that as well, and that also showed up on the machine, which I did not mention to you at all, or so there's other little things that I'm like, wow, this is really crazy. How does it know?
So crazily accurate. Either people are very offended because it puts into question all the years of study that they've done, that all of a sudden in one button you can see, or they're like, wow, you know what? So what I did was I went in and created, because it didn't, that one thing didn't upgrade because it's really resistant, because it's really in his body for a while. So he was go in and create a playlist, and I did there's a breathe free. These are just titles, lung, blood plasma cleansing. Like I did a whole playlist. And then I sent it to him, and you were like, the next day, you said you hadn't felt. I mean,
Yeah,
had-
yeah. It's and continues through since that time. Yeah, I've
yeah,
felt phenomenally better. Like I almost feel back to my normal self.
but
With just a little bit of congestion in the mornings and at night, when I'm tired. So,
I'll hit you with another one. Because it's so easy
yeah.
to do. But this to me is not just, I mean, the technology. This is very shamanic to me in nature, because
Hmm.
these are actually the nature codes.
Hmm.
Everything is been created with sound, right? First there was sound, and then there was light.
Right. Yep.
Everything is created with sound. All they're doing is going, okay, this is the actual written down 3D number, quantified
Yep.
from nature. So it's all nature. It's just, we're learning to use this in a different way. And I will say learning, this is not new. It's
Right.
just that we are upgrading what what we need to do during these times, actually. So, and I will say I've worked with people, and again, this is just in our community, because they have frequencies for all of what on here. I'm just
Yep.
going to
Yep.
say it right in there.
Yeah.
And people have come, God, I have this thing, and like a day and a half, 2 days, they're done. And I work with
Right.
people with long term, no
Yeah.
taste, no
The
smell.
long haulers. Yeah. Yeah.
Taste, no
We
smell. My people are like, they've had it for how many months? They get
right.
on this in like a couple days, and then a week. Like, I can smell. I just worked on someone in Hawaii, and she's like, I can smell a plumeria. And I haven't been able to smell anything for, 2 months. So
I've got somebody for you up here in Big Bear that I've got to get on
yeah.
that. So we'll do a little experiment there. But so that how do people? Because there's a couple people asking, how do they? Can they just reach out to you later to get
Yeah,
information on
yes, just
this?
absolutely reach out to me for sure.
Okay.
I love talking about the tech and sharing it and having people, absolutely. Please reach out to me for sure. Um, yeah. Like I said, they're based in Utah. I went to the company last year,
Mhm.
and I wanted to just meet the scientists and the researchers behind it, because I'm a total geek.
Yeah.
And I got to the headquarters, and I didn't realize that it was just that I just thought that they had this device, but no, it
Right.
turned out I mean,
You got some big.
I'll just send you the picture of the Theta chamber. You could share it with the audience. It's a little video. And I'm actually in it, and it was spinning around. Um, when you get it, you don't feel it spinning, you just feel it just starting. And then all of a sudden you're like floating. And I'll just tell you my experience briefly. He put me on a mind program, and I think I forget, consciousness something. Of course, I would pick that. And all of these lights were flashing like colors, just like lasers. Like, it's hard for me to get it out, because it's hard to
Mhm.
explain. And then everything kind of went quiet. And I'm on this horizon, and I see clouds, and you really feel like you're just floating into heaven. I'm like, what's going on? And then these lights start flashing, and then the session's over. I get out, don't want to get out, but I get out. And he said, so what was your experience? And I said, well, and I told him what I just said here. And then I just had to say it. I said, it was so beautiful and calming, but the only thing is, like, the light activity, like, you guys were pumping in so much light in it. It was almost a little bit jarring. And he's looking at me he said, really, all this light? Tell me more. And pumping in. And he said, we didn't pump any lights in. I was like,
Right.
he goes, we didn't pump anything in. He goes, we don't do that. We don't do that. Remember, you had
Yeah.
glasses. There were no lights. And he's like, that was your pineal gland. You were on an actual journey. And I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the fun things we get to look forward to as the old paradigm breaks with this is the science says this. Now there are a lot of scams out there too. So everybody please be careful. There's people taking advantage, and there's opportunities for, this whole med bed talk thing through the community. Phoenix and I, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
From my research, they don't exist yet. They exist on a spaceship somewhere. They're not here yet in the form that some people are talking about them. So we need to be careful about, snake oil folks. but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's a lot of amazing new technologies that are leading in the direction to full medbed
Absolutely.
type stuff
Mm.
that, maybe 20 years, maybe 10 years, who knows, will be in that, full thing. But to the story about the med beds is always, to me, felt a little too savior complex ish. Everybody's like, oh well, if somebody's suffering right now, I've heard this from many people reach out to me like, they've got all these, health issues or whatever. And like, oh, but in a couple months, the med beds will be released and then I'll just go sit in it and I'll get healed. And
Right.
it's like, no, that's not how this works.
I know,
You
right.
have
Got to keep
it's
casting. You got to
you
keep
got
doing stuff.
right. It's like you have to do the work. Like
Right.
it's not.
Yep.
It's this magical machine is going to heal you. Even the machine you show us, it shows you where you need to do the work, but you still need to do the frequencies and do the holistic approach of going in and doing everything that you can possibly do, from the food to the breathing
Yeah.
to the sun gazing. We need all of it, not just the magic pill. Like, because the whole idea of just the med bed thing, to me, it's the exact same thing as, just do the thing and then I'm good, and we
Right.
know that doesn't work. Right now
No.
we have empirical evidence that,
Empirical.
yeah, empirical.
Empirical. I
Yeah.
was saying what you were saying. Empirical evidence.
That this doesn't work at all. In fact, you probably need to go through Phoenix's machine if you've done that procedure to
Yeah.
help clean out some of the stuff that's there. But this is it. This is the time that we're able to now, like, okay, we can finally put a rest to all the naysayers in these emerging technologies that are looking at ancient technologies and incorporating them with the current new technologies. Because these amazing devices we're having this conversation with, and doing these things, these are not the devil. Even we don't need to throw this baby out with the bathwater. We don't put all our eggs in this basket. We don't put all our eggs in the other basket. And we combine, and we evolve, and let's use all the tools at our disposal. And so,
speaking of that, yeah, it's not the devil. What fascinating thing about this device phone, you can just literally toss it in your bag and you have like every healing thing in here. It's crazy. But it's actually a non-trackable, non-traceable actual phone if you want to use it.
okay. Like the clear
No.
phone kind of thing.
Yeah, I did not know that for probably about 8 months until I found, that it's crazy. Amazing.
So yeah, I think that's our next, the next lessons we have to learn is the frequencies that are coming off of these devices. This is why I have mine in my, my Faraday cage with my other technologies.
I need that, by the way.
Yeah.
Faraday cage.
I'll send you guys links
Yeah.
to these products. I was so gifted to learn about frequencies from David Sereda early on. And I have my, he got me to get one of the tri-field meters. So I'm like always like checking, how's my device? How much is it? Oh yeah, that's pumping quite a bit. All right, let's get a cage on that. Let's get these. Even my earbuds have shielding on them.
You do? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, because those earbuds, so you have shielding on those. Yeah,
it doesn't cut it out 100%, but it definitely knocks it down big time. So all of our devices, guys, we need to be aware that the future devices will be on a frequency that's in more harmonics of what the human body is. So we don't have to worry about this stuff. But for now, because Apple is not a conscious company when it comes to taking care of the health of people, and especially of late, the older iPhones actually were much better shielded. The new ones, obviously the 5G and everything else, but we need our devices, I need my devices. I know we're trying to work away from that, but we've had the societal thing, and until the technology can catch up with the holistic, when we're developing technologies that work with the human frequencies that are more in alignment, we need, I suggest everybody get shielding or neutralizers, grounding mats. I'm a big fan of all that.
Yeah.
So,
Something else. Yeah, I
so
have a little guy in the back of mine, but
mm,
I think I needed, for some reason, I feel like it's not working as well. There's just something I wanted to, that I found out, if people don't know, that even though I didn't want to get my phone upgraded for a long time, because it's like the 5G phone kind of
yeah, yeah.
thing, but I had to, because my phone was shot.
Mhm.
But I learned that just because they say it's the 5G phone, you don't need to have the 5G coming into your phone. You can actually program it where it says 4 LTE.
Mhm. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a place that says, do you know that? Where it's
Yeah,
5G?
you yeah,
Okay.
you
Just
can sort
so,
of set it on there.
yeah. So it means
And
you're communicating with those towers.
yeah, and I've noticed too, with the meter that this idea, the 5G thing, it's not true. A lot of it's not true 5G, though, in the sense that, yeah, real 5G is pretty, rough on the body. Um, and energy sensitive people just can't, we were driving down the canyon when we were doing your interview, and I remember Steve was like, his teeth were hurting. They were putting in all the 5G
I was
uh
literally going to say that. I heard you say that.
towers. Yeah. So, but a lot of the so-called 5G in these networks is not that bad. It's not as bad as there's some of the 5G haters are like, it's gonna kill us all. It's gonna be rough. And if we take these precautions where we can, we adapt. The human body's very adaptable. So pay attention if you are energy sensitive and have these things, then, you know, definitely, there are alternatives. Don't go there. But at the same time, we don't need to be in fear that, the 5G frequencies are going to kill us, because there are workarounds. We don't need to, I think, again, throw the baby out the bathwater. There's a nice balance somewhere in there.
Yes. Well, EMF shows up in here, whether you have EMF frequency, and there's a
Right.
whole protection, energetic shield, and also a detox on that as well. So, you go in a couple times a week, check it out.
Yeah.
Detox from all the things are in there for the detox.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of our, us moving forward in this new earth, is identifying the toxins on the planet and the things that have caused humanity harm in the planet, and then, fixing those, and then, work and adapting, and having new technologies that adapt to, like I was saying, adapt to the holistic way. It's not that all frequencies are bad. It's just finding the right frequencies that work with the human body and with the earth, as opposed to the ones that are working against. So we'll get there, as I think that's a big part of our moving forward into this new reality. And I just realized we've been having this awesome conversation for so long, and I just wanted to now open it up for folks to start asking questions. I know there's so many things, hypnotherapist, you're a Billboard top 10 singer, there's so many other things we can go
Working on new
into.
music.
You're working on some new
Incredible
music.
music is coming. So for those of who don't know, I have had a Billboard hit, a top 10 Billboard hit as an independent artist in 2008. Quite unexpected, and yet I channeled it in.
There you go.
Just gonna say, but it was amazing. Radio play, the whole thing actually before, oh, 2008. I remember, everybody remembers, like, 2008, everything crashed, and a lot of radio went dark, and many that were the urban AC stations that were playing my music. It was about 6 months in after I had the hit. They all kind of went dark. Many disappeared, started changing, and so I stepped out, and I just really continued on my studies in hypnotherapy and past life regression, and helping people learning the shamanic ways, and meditation, and all of that. But recently, decided I'm going to step back in music, uh, and bring that in, because I just hadn't. I have a lot of light language channelings, and in the video that we did,
Mhm.
I got a chance. It was wonderful because I was, it basically was inspired after my first Lyran visitation.
Hmm.
Uh, and that was huge. It was really profound. And what I had been told, the history, and I had been shown the Earth's history through the Orion Wars. I was actually, the Lyrans decided to show that to me. It's very upsetting.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're like, yep, that's okay. Get over it. Move on. You got to take those pieces. And
Hmm.
Lyrans don't mess around. And they're very strong. And so after I had that visitation, was not so long after, I think, after I had met you, because after I had the
Yeah.
first with the skull with Bill.
Right. And
And
that's when we decided, we're like, hey, can we talk to the Lyrans? And
yes,
we
that's
brought
right.
in Lord Devane.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to listen to that again. I know that was, I haven't listened to it in a while, but that the music was inspired by
The
what the
experience.
Lyrians had showed me during. And I think, what was that line where he said, do you want to know? Um,
Story.
yes, thank you.
Hmm.
Right. Do you want to know the story? Are you ready to see the story? And it's basically the story of humanity and how we're to heal
Mm.
ourselves, how we're to again get in touch with our actual.
And that's tied into the skull as well. I feel, a big part of the journey with the skull is sort of finding this story, finding this history.
Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit? Like, what is the Lyran? I know it's vast and huge, but
Yeah.
what is that connection?
So the Lyran connection to me, the Lyrans are the Lyra from the
Hmm.
Lyra, and they are the lion-headed.
Hmm.
You see Sekhmet. I don't have my Sekhmet near. When you see Sekhmet, you
Hmm.
see the lion heads and the man bodies, and you see them in Egyptian art.
Hmm.
Um, this is they're reverent of them because they're one of the original seeders of our planet of humanity. Also, the Pleiadians of the Arcturians, they are like the father, all father slash mother,
Hmm.
the engineers of our many of our planets, and they were
Hmm.
benevolent, so benevolent. There are as many of us in civilizations who have come along and have made decisions that maybe they haven't liked or haven't been so proud of later after they made decisions that maybe have caused catastrophes or in hindsight, but always learning. And
Hmm.
I know there are some definite. They did show me some of those injuries and my connection actually to them um, in seeding these civilizations. And it is very definitely connected right into the skull and to the skulls because the skulls carry the history of what happened, like everything. They are carrying the Akashic record. They are consciousness themselves. They're not just some static quartz crystals,
Hmm.
but as also they are in the shape of the head, the human head. And I think we talked about this, that what I was shown was that the skull was not just being reverent to what we look like, all of us, that we have the skull and that the skulls are imitating necessarily what we look like and
Hmm.
having that the homage, if you will, to humanity.
Right. Right.
The skull was actually the original prototype before we actually came into this form
Right.
as meeting there's a galactic meeting as to whether humanity was even going to step into a body at all. Because prior, in the root races, and I
Hmm.
remember when we first talked about this, and I'll never forget it in Sage, it just channeled in. I was like, wow, because we were these consciousness plasmic beings. During Lemuria, there were times in Lemuria where we didn't have bodies. I mean, that long a breadth of a civilization that we were, moving in this plasmic form.
Mm.
And then we stepped into bodies. But there was actually a council decision as to what those bodies were to look like. And the skulls played a role in that. The development of the skulls played a role in what we eventually would look like.
Hmm.
And so that was the fascinating part that I saw. But there was a great sadness when I had that original visitation and when I saw the Orion Wars, because the Lyrans lost their home. Basically, they were now in spaceships. They are not in their home right now.
Hmm.
It was a big takeover, which we are privy to right now, today, right now, are living in the remnant of that takeover. And what we're doing right here, right now, at this time, is writing all of that, making right what I'm going to say, what we are all responsible for. This is not just what they're doing to us. So, what happened, all of those, and we can't even count them. We could just consciously put ourselves in that other dimensional realm and just breathe ourselves and go, we're there now without the usage of time, because it can't be done.
Mhm.
That our allowance of these beings to co-opt us, just
Mhm.
very similar to right now, when we allow a being, a company, whatever it is, from food, those companies, to pharmaceuticals, to stand in between us, and we decide to go, that's not a bad idea. Let me take that. It takes us out of our original connection with source consciousness.
Mhm.
And that's what causes all the distortions. So we were doing that. Then we allowed something to come in between. And
Mhm.
that's what has caused all of our distortions. So even if you personally haven't made that decision, and say your cousin did, either then or now, or all of the different iterations of lives in between, if we can
Mhm.
speak about time in that way, we're still doing it because we're all part of each other. We're not separate. So
Right.
if somebody does something, you're doing it as well. So what we're doing is, we cannot, and what I was shown as well is that this notion of, and I talk about this a lot, of cutting cords, like they're doing it, I got to cut myself off from that.
Right. Right.
Well, it's an impossibility. We can't, because we're all in a quantum entanglement. So
Yeah.
there's no cutting off, because cutting off from them would be cutting off from yourself. You can't do it.
Right.
Only thing that we can do is raise our frequency, our vibration.
Mhm.
So as we raise that vibration, then they raise their vibration. So we're raising together. And that's what we can do. We can't cut. We have to change our behavior. And
Mhm.
so enough of us are doing that and going, we're not going to give ourselves up anymore to anything other than ourselves. Like, we have
Mhm.
the spark, the God code is inside us. It's right here. So that's our job right now. Raising the
Mhm.
frequency so everybody else can take it off finally and see and open the eyes and go, oh, wow. Okay. And you become the way shower, you become the one. And so that sadness that I saw at Lord Devane when we had our channeling, and also we talked about, remember, the divine masculine and feminine, and the
Mhm.
feminine is getting back to the earth, when getting back
Yeah.
to the earth again is getting back to the natural code, the original coding before the inversions, before the co-opting,
Mhm.
and basically the God takeover. And this, for me, it's never religious when I say that. It's all spiritual and in
Mhm.
nature. The God code, which is just our life force. This is what's in
The God
everyone.
blockers.
I love it. That's it. Oh, the fuck up, sparkle. The God block. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the
I
best.
saw I
Yes.
saw a hand up, but maybe did it come back? Oh, Mark, you've got your hand up. Go ahead and you okay to grab a question from Mark?
100. I love it. I love questions.
All right. Sweet. Hop in there.
Hello, Phoenix.
There he is.
Hi.
And
Hello. Welcome.
oh, I'm great. And of course, Reuben. Um, I, from the teachings that I've been following and the experiences that I've been having and stuff is all about, kind of moving more towards, the light body, moving towards remembering and embodying ourselves as source, or God. And so I tend towards keep it simple. So I've been working more towards, trying to eliminate things, and like avoiding supplements and things like that. Except for, you know, what I see that I may have a definite issue around, or an absolute, need. And my understanding too is that, as we do that, that we will be the technology, that we won't need any technologies. Um, and or that some of the technologies that may be coming out are things like the skull, more crystalline technologies and stuff like that. So my question is, I wonder if some of the stuff that you guys are talking about, if these are maybe not necessarily like for the way showers who are the people who are really worried about or really working on becoming godlike right now, and more for the general masses who have no knowledge of 5D right now, and maybe it's like to help, as the planet starts to transition, helping the entire planet to transition. Um, anyway, I was curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I love what you are saying right there, and you're speaking to a big part of me that feels that this this kind of thing, and when you don't plug into what you're plugging, can be a crutch that we don't need because we don't actually. We actually do not need it. Um, but exactly what you said, there is a quadrant that is not, in the practices and who are not as studied up and who, to me, it's almost like they need, like, I call it my hack, it's like my healing hack, if you will, because
Permission slips.
yeah, no, I'm totally with you because sometimes I would, when I used to come into this, I would kind of go, man, you know what? It's just, I'm going to look at this like 30 years from now. I'm going to go, yeah, you never needed that, like that kind of thing. It's like, you don't, because we have it all inside us and we can do it. But there's so much interference. And we're not in the Faraday cage yet, if we could be, but you know what I mean? That I'm finding that how I came into the technology, a girlfriend of mine in Austin had it. And she knows I'm pretty like, I'm all nature. I'm like all mother nature. I'm like, even though I love the technology, because the Tesla is all science, it is all nature. It's just now when you put it into like a hard thing, it feels like, okay, well, it's a piece of tech as opposed to, it's in a plant and it's a thing. Although interesting, all the homeopathic and the Bach flower essences are in here, and you can actually hear the vibration of them. It's fantastic. So it's very much nature meets tech. AO is alpha omega, so it's masculine, feminine, joins together. It's very spiritual, but at the same time, feeling you on that tech thing. So I had some issue kind of happening, and I never had back issues, but it was weird during COVID, something, not going to the gym enough, whatever it was. And my girlfriend said, get on this thing. And I finally did. I felt it. She was in Austin. I'm here in LA, and I felt something. And you have to know, I do distant healing, shamanic healings, and people go, did you have your hands on my head? Because I felt all of that. And indeed, I did. I do the thing in my hands, you know, that's what's happening. So I know what the energy feels like, and other people know from me. So I felt it from this device. And then halfway through the day, it took me half of the day to realize that the issue that had been with me for about 6 months, I didn't have it. And I called her up and I was like, what the? She goes, yeah, your back came up. I just did back program. I was like, I just like, let me just go and get this thing. And I've been having so much fun with it because it is more but it's the masculine, the feminine, it's coming together. So yes, all to that 100% get what you're saying and agree. And soon it's like, this is kind of like, it's our crutch and it's where we are to get to our next thing. But I feel like it tells us
it's
to
a
our
bridge.
yeah, it's a bridge. So
Yeah.
So yes, and yes to all of it. Yeah.
I think, all of this stuff. So we have, and again, this is the evolution. This is the synergy. I mean, like in my garden, I've got hydroponics. Is it natural soil? Is it have the nutrients that, I'm putting the nutrients in the water so the plants can get the thing, but I can grow exponentially really fast. Do they have as much nutrients as the as the soil cucumbers? Probably not. But the yields I'm getting, and I'm still able to add quite a bit into the mixture. So they're getting almost as much nutrients. And the yields I'm getting, I'm able to give, extras to my neighbors and stuff. So all of these technologies, they're not quite, we are manipulating nature, and not manipulating. I think that's the wrong word. We are guiding nature to, in certain ways, and working with her to get a result, right? I don't want to say an expectation, because again, we don't know what we're going to get, but we're working together, and okay, I'm going to put the nutrients in the water and aerate them and do these different techniques and have these different ways of doing things. But I'm not going to splice the DNA and rip things out and then, kill it with chemicals and to destroy all the other bugs. I'm going to make the immune system stronger by making a compost tea with probiotics that go into the leaves. So I'm still doing something that nature wouldn't necessarily have done exactly the way I did, but I'm using nature's tools, probiotics and healthy bacterias, and then I'm redistributing them in this way. So then the leaves can get the nutrients and become stronger. So then the insects don't even touch them, because they're not the weakest link. So the insects go after the weak the weak plants. I'm just using that as an analogy, but I think that's kind of I think the idea behind these new emerging technologies. Not to be crutches, but to again work. It's a different energy that we're working with when we're doing things still from a holistic approach, and we're not splicing and dicing. We're not manipulating.
Yes.
We are in a sense hybridization. In a sense, a hybrid plant, you can get hybridized watermelon without the seeds. And that's not genetically modified. There are genetically modified watermelons without the seeds, but the hybridized versions still have the nutrients. They still, they're not going to kill you. You're not going to have, irritable bowel syndrome from eating a hybridized watermelon, where a GMO watermelon, you probably would. There's the difference. I don't know. A few hands up. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent.
Was that answer without Mark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, you good?
Just wanted you to, And I just really quickly too, Mark, I've walked out of some tech things where they were nature driven, and I'm like, we just don't need this. And then I'm like, and then this just pulled me in, because there's something so beautiful, and the people behind it are just so nature people. So I think also what Reuben was saying, the intention and how it's done, something about this is so different and so natural in the approach that I connected with it. But yes, I get you.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about where we are in using it and stuff. We're just more curious about if my beliefs and what I'm seeing and where we're going is still true. And so I love the idea that it's, permission slips and a bridge.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Gail has her hand up. Hop in there, Gail.
Actually, this is coming from Lyrica
Oh, okay.
and the Phoenix. And this is very personal, but Lyrica's in a very deep process right now that she calls her transition. That is a soul chosen, soul directed, leaving process, because she feels like she's completed her work and purpose here on earth, and that she's being called so vigorously and vibrantly to her councils and everything in the higher cosmic worlds, to be able to work from that level in the, I'll just say future. We aren't going to put any time limit on it. So I'd like to hear you. She would like to hear you speak more about this. And she doesn't see it as death at all. She sees it definitely as transition, a dimensional shift, basically. So I'd like to hear more about what you say about that.
A moment with that. Thank you for that. I'm just connecting. There is an earthly council here, Lyrica, that is still very connected in what you need to or came here to do. There is a council that is not completely formed in the physical with other uh, very highly and deep beings as yourself. Um, I'm seeing there's 5 others that are coming to you that will be in your council, and you are literally seeing as the grand head of this. When that is complete, because we are not yet through our process here, it's going to be a little while. I'm not seeing a number, a time, not time bound, but it is for you to complete this part of the leg, because without completing this part here, the next part in which you are feeling that next ascension in this other realm, which is right, it's so close, will not have all of the complete pieces that it needs to proceed correctly. Um, they see you in both places, walking in the 2 worlds, for sure. And your footprint is very big here. It needs to be even just that much bigger so that it can be translated and read properly, so that when you are at your destination point, just at that moment, and there's many more destinations, you will be happy and satisfied with exactly bringing that voice that you need, that you are bringing. There's more here.
Thank you, Phoenix.
Thank you.
But I do think the new human destiny is that we will be able to, when it's time, not have to go through accidents and long illnesses. We will just know how to transfer ourselves by soul and power and choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So much love to you. And Lyric, I can't wait to hug her. And you.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia, did you want to hop in? Your question.
Hi, wonderful to meet you. I back kind of on the health and stuff, what we were talking about before. One that I wanted to ask about, because I can't imagine that your teeth and your mouth are the only place of your body that doesn't clean and take care of itself in some semblance. I've had a lot of issues with dental before my awakening, and I just kind of wanted to ask if you have any words on care for your mouth, and how to go about that transition into, taking care of it more from that intent way rather than the traditional, what we were taught to do growing up.
100. Yes. 100. Hi. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you. You know that every one of your teeth is connected to every organ in your body. So are you aware of that?
I am now.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, right. Yeah, every, like, your molar will be connected to your liver, like this is connected to your heart, like every single organ in your body, there is a meridian to your tooth. There is an amazing book called It's All in Your Head. It's All in Your Head. Let me very quickly think of the name of the author. But I had many mercury fillings in my teeth that were put in as a child that probably I didn't need. And I learned much about this. Dr. Hal Huggins is his name. And learning further in the shaman, in the nature part, that if there is an issue that you're having with an organ as well, it's not just your tooth, bad organ. It's also, if there's an issue in your organ, it's going directly to your tooth. So that holistic is taking care of those things that are going on in your body: liver, kidney, gallbladder, detoxing, big, right? All of the ways that you can feed, again, it's back to feeding yourself the highest light, which means conscious food, food that is living, food that is grown organically. Of course, you notice that the better you eat, the better your teeth are, but it's not just because of what you're chomping on, like, oh, I'm eating a lot of sugar, I'm getting cavities. Yes. But it's also what you're taking into your body. There's a communication between everything in your body, right back up to your teeth. Something that you can do that is so incredible and easy. Another one of my hacks is wheatgrass powder and putting it in water, making it and putting it like a teaspoon and swishing it in your mouth. Like, there's oil pulling. You've heard of that. I find that wheatgrass pulling is amazing, and it literally can regenerate the gums and teeth. And I will say that confidently without going, no, you're, over delivering no, I've seen it happen. And I've seen people, I've recommended people to do it who've had receding gums and teeth issues. And they're literally crying because they're like, I thought I had to get a gum graft or this. And again, the wheatgrass, once again, the amount of oxygen that's in wheatgrass and the healing, swish it around, do it. That is incredible. And of course, if you have any mercury in your mouth, I don't know if you do, must get it out, because any tooth, or there's root canals, let's just talk about that. Anything that is in your jaw that is not natural, your body, it causes that autoimmune, and then that it kind of repeats on itself because your body doesn't know how to identify the foreign object. And so for 24/7, it's trying to push out what it doesn't know. And then it gets tired of working that much. And then when you have something else wrong in your body, or something that needs to fight off, or cold or whatever, it can't do it because it's been operating on implants, whether in your tooth, or let's just talk about it, in your breasts. Anything that's implanted, your body is trying to push out because it doesn't identify what it is. So we have to take out anything that is not natural, teeth, anything, so that your body can recognize itself again and start to recalibrate. And then teeth heal all sorts of things. I have also, and I'll just say too, I have an amazing holistic dentist I found. That's a Hal Huggins protocol in Tijuana, called American Biodental. If anybody wants it, you can put it in the chat,
Yeah.
or share it later. But he was one of the original Hal Huggins protocols, because he passed about 6 years ago, but he went through dental school and was kicked out of the American Dental Association because he questioned putting mercury into people's teeth. He's like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Like, it's right next to the brain. Every tooth is connected to he was using the holistic, and they said, you know what, we don't want to hear about that. We're going to do this thing. We'll put mercury in people's heads. And so he got kicked out, and he's like, I don't want to waste all of my years of study and passionate about healing people, actually. And so he opened something called the Hal Huggins Protocol. And one of the first ones was at the American Biodental in Tijuana. And I had all my mercury taken out, and they do all holistic dentistry. Prices are unbelievable. You drive to the last, if you're in the States, you drive to the last border before you get to Mexico. They come and pick you up. They bring you to their clinic, and they become family over the years. So that's just in terms of hands-on. But that wheatgrass is something amazing, amazing. And obviously no fluoride in your toothpaste.
Thank you so much. That was so resonant. I had a lot of dental work done before my awakening, and it has only ever caused more problems in my mouth. And it's just so resonant the way you said that they're trying to force it out, because I can feel that process in my mouth. And I'm so grateful that I asked you this. I'd love to get these things out. I'll be looking up them. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Please feel free to contact me because I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, they cause more. Exactly. Your body is reacting. Yeah.
We'll put there's a lot of nuggets in this conversation that I'll put in the comment section of the repost of the video. So and just talk about some of these devices and stuff too.
Also, before people jump off too, I do a lot on, I'm on Instagram on my DMs. A lot of people are asking me lots of questions and health questions too. So feel free to reach out on my Instagram. It just seems to be where people contact me. It didn't end up being that way, but it is.
And also, Gail, another synchronicity with Gail and Lyrica is the pyramids that they've been working with Michael and Jason for probably a decade now. So Phoenix, we were just having this conversation. She texted me before. She's like, "What? Gail and Lyrica, they have an eye pyramid? Are they working with Jason?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's them." So you tell us about that a little bit as we wrap up here.
Yeah. So I was in Sedona. I actually had seen them on Instagram, and I was like, man, I got to go visit them. So I was with some people in Sedona, and I was like, you know what? I need to look up Jason. So I actually got to go to his facility, and he's building a special pyramid for their health facility. So that was really exciting. And I had no idea until Reuben shared with me, and I saw a picture. I was like, wait a minute, that's Lyrica. She's under a pyramid. And so he said, yeah. And you actually helped to bring in some of this tech, how you channeled in technology with this. So it's amazing. It's such an honor, Lyrica, to have you. Truly.
A lot of elements in the Gail and Lyrica episode, because we've been following them for a little while here, and there's just so many synchronicities.
11 years, Reuben. 11 years.
11 years. Yeah, and just all the synchronicities and the interconnections, right? On so many levels, from the pyramids to the skulls to Adele and her work, and Sedona the horse, and these are all things I'm just throwing out there that everybody who's listening, like, what is he talking about? It's like, well, it's coming in the next episode. Everybody will get it, I promise. So yeah, Phoenix, thank you so much for coming on. Any sort of final words of wisdom for our group here?
For me, or
from you. Oh, wait. Before, let's see. Lucas has a quick question. Let's get him in there. Go ahead, Lucas.
Hi, Phoenix. I really appreciate a lot of what you shared, and I feel like my questions that I had are already answered, really boiling down to raising our frequency. But earlier you were referring to just like this pressure. It feels like separation happening around families, relationships, just a time where there's so much acceleration and bringing things to the surface. So I really appreciate your comments, and I wanted to express that. And if there's anything else related to that, certainly welcome.
Wow. Thank you so much. Good to see you, brother. Very good to see you. I think you probably, most of us, we have it pretty figured out by now, meaning when we first went into the separation, during this whole process, which the COVID process, which is truly divine, it seems horrific at times. And then at other times it has heightened our awareness to so many things that it's like I say, that the dastardly plan has backfired on itself because it has pushed us to our ascension. And I feel that one of the things that we've all learned, that separation that's been so difficult, the dark parts are pushing us to our ascension. We now are getting less. I am going to talk for myself, but I know for many, but I'm just going to say for myself, there were anger parts in the beginning that people were not listening to things. And then the separation is happening because, we have these angry factions. And I, as a leader in meditation and mindfulness, I'm not to get angry. And yet, there are things that I definitely got angry at because I was worried about, people, and I stopped being angry because I learned that this is also part of what other people signed up for, which is basically opposite from what I might think is unsafe, that they're going, you know what, we're actually going to do these things because it's going to push you even further and faster to your enlightenment, which is going to then pull everybody. Like I said, we can't cut cords. We really can't separate. You know, the notion is, it's like, okay, you're just doing that over there, doing this over here, but really we're connected. So how do we, is what we do is just raise our frequency. And every time one of those separation things come up, it pushes us and we just allow it. And when you see it like that, it's like, okay, thank you for that. I'm not angry about it anymore. It just pushes me further. And eventually it's going to grab everybody.
Yes. Thank you. Exactly. On the cutting cords part, also, I imagine that's somewhat a manner of perspective, because it's still valuable to not have cords of expectation between people, if I understand that correctly. And what you're saying is just that we're not actually separating. Nobody's getting left behind. There's not a split. We are all together in this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure. It is more semantics, although it's always the precision with our words, we have to be so careful, because even that, and I mean, I've been with practitioners and I had a selenite knife gifted to me years ago that said, you're cutting, we're doing this cutting of, so even though it is, yes, and it is valuable in the thought of it, just the actual words, because when we say that, it is an incantation. It's all the magic. We created this whole thing out of thought that comes out of our words, that if we still are saying that, it leads us to the idea that we're separate as opposed to all together. So does that, so it's still
Yes.
just checking myself every time. It's like it's more being aware of you, being aware of yourself, even at a higher level. It's like, oh, wow. Right. That was good to say last year, but this year, you know what? It's different this year. It's different in this moment that I step in the river, can never step in the same place twice, because now it's a different configuration. Understanding is greater. And therefore the words are like, oh, okay, no, I'm just going to elevate. I don't need to even worry about cutting. I'm just elevating. I'm good.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder, because it is exactly about where we're at, what time, what resonates, for someone going through something really horrific and heavy and, maybe a little cutting wordage, right? I'm not actually saying really cut, but it could be the thing they need, the right medicine they need to get out of that situation for that moment. But ultimately, like you said, I hate to give levels, but the higher approach, right, is just to not do the cutting, but just to raise the frequency, and then again, I love what you said earlier about the raising of the frequency doesn't mean you're separating, you're not cutting them out. You're just raising it so then they can raise to come and match you. That to me is like, that's the stuff.
Yeah, because it's like with music, when there's one note and one note's played, the one that's higher, there's one that's lower. The lower one always raises up and it imitates that frequency. It's never like there's a high one alone, this one comes down. It's never that this is here. It's like, and it comes together. So I would say, even instead of saying a higher, you can just say it's a God mind. When you get into the God mind, you realize it's like we're all moving in, but we have as the way showers, as you were saying, we have that responsibility too. I think Mark was to, when you're there, it matches. It's matching. We're matching.
Right. And you're in a sense, you're reaching your hand out to pull them up, as opposed to like, cutting their arm off, or, or cutting their arm off, or however that cutting thing works. We don't have to go there anymore.
Yeah. Just because we're so powerful, we're so magical that everything that we say, it's like, oh, and we forget that. I mean, I forget.
Right.
It's just really rechecking ourselves. It's like, wow, we are spinning so much magic. So just every time, careful the words. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Not enough time to go into all the amazing gifts that you have to offer, but I'll put in Phoenix's info in the comments or in the description of this video, so we can definitely reach out to her and get some more wisdom. And we definitely have to do this again.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was so joyful, and even those who didn't open their mics, I feel you, and it's a pleasure. And I wonder if we have 1 minute left.
Yeah, for
If
sure. I'm
there's
sure
an
if people,
exercise that I would
yeah.
love to do, and then we can just
Okay.
cut out. And then it's this really awesome gratitude exercise, and I do it when I have on Zooms, and it's so beautiful. And it's where for just 1 minute, and I'll time it. Everybody opens their mics, and we all say for 1 minute what we're grateful for. I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for this show. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for my heart. I'm grateful for my partner. I'm grateful for food. I'm grateful, like that kind of thing. And just for 1 minute,
Okay.
but everybody hears everybody. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
mic, and we're all there together. And then I'll say, stop.
Everybody
And
down to do that? All right. Their mics are on. They're off.
Yeah.
They're muted. So can't hear
Sounds
everybody.
great.
But I think everybody, go ahead and unmic yourself, and let's get ready for some gratitude. You tell us when to go.
Okay. I'm going to my alarm will go on. Okay. Going up. All righty. And hold on 1 second. And beautiful. All right. And 1, 2, and go.
All right.
I'm-
Grateful
for the show.
Lyran. Everybody here.
Grateful
Grateful for
Friends,
for
grateful for
Phoenix.
my
Grateful for
Magical love.
all of this amazing energy, connection, Big Bear.
and technology to be
Wife,
people.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the technology. I'm grateful for the
For all the
information.
connection.
The ability to travel.
The ability to travel. I like that. I'm taking other people's gratefulness.
Magical love.
Grateful for my garden. Grateful for my cat. Grateful for there's another cat.
My business.
Grateful for my health. Grateful for this rain that we're getting right now. All this wonderful moisture. I'm grateful for Lyrica and all the wisdom that she's coming through with. Yeah, and the assistance in this episode. And grateful for
all of my
finding plants.
Meditation.
Grateful for my new computer.
Grateful for all the animals around my house.
Grateful for the skulls, the crystal skulls.
Grateful for
Everyone.
Absolutely. Grateful for my refrigerator.
Grateful for connection.
Grateful for
Grateful
my
for Zoom.
car.
Collaboration.
Grateful for
and
gatherings.
1, 2, and 3, and we are here. And for a moment, just breathing, your eyes closed. And bringing all of that in. Sitting in this moment. Feeling everything in your body. And taking a deep breath in. And just holding it at the top. Just for a couple of seconds before you let it go. And then breathing your eyes open.
Thank you, Phoenix.
Thank you. Enjoy all of that.
Yeah, that's a lot of gratefuls.
I'm buzzing. My body.
Yeah, that was super cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being on and playing these grateful games. For all your gratefulness. you reminded me of some good things to be grateful about moving forward this week. Big thank you, Phoenix, for coming on and doing this. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having me. Thank you,
We'll
everyone.
talk soon, and see you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you like this interview. We actually do this every week on my membership portal page. You can access it through interviewwithed.org or click on the link somewhere in here. I'll put a link, and come over and join us. You too can ask questions. Every week we have new special guests, and you get to ask questions directly to the channelers and to the beings that they channel. So see you in the portal.